Hi, Katie Fehrenbacher from Gigome. You've invested in Coastla's venture fund. I want to bring the conversation back to energy. And you've also advocated increasing the federal spending through the American Energy Innovation Group. And also you're working with Nathan with intellectual ventures. So you have these variety of financing mechanisms for remaking energy innovation. And I was wondering, what do you think will be the most effective financing mechanism to recreate the energy ecosystem? And do you think some financing mechanisms are not working? For example, like venture capital, is that a good model for energy innovation?
Yeah, there's many different stages, and this was a intense discussion. The group that was mentioned, the AEIC, American Energy Innovation Council, was John Doerr, myself, Jeff Immelt, who's the CEO of GE, Tim Soslow's the CEO of Cummins, Webb, Augustine, who was the CEO of Lockheed Martin. Anyway, a good group where we sat and talked about where do you want to have the government involved? So basic research on materials, only the government really can do that. There's that upstage stuff. Then there's actually building things, which is engineering. That's where venture scale things are quite good. Then there's pilot plants where it's more money, unfortunately, at least in some of these technologies, than venture at least typically can provide. And the government should somehow leverage that. And then there's deployment when it's economic, almost economic, where you believe a learning curve approach can get it down. Now, the current naivete where tax credits and subsidies and RPS things, the amount of money we're effectively spending in this unbelievable inefficient way, because nobody likes something labeled a tax. And so they spend 10 times as much money on these patchwork of, this feed-in credit and this RPS thing and this, rich people buying electric cars. Hey, they deserve $7,500. Why not? They're rich people. So it's insane how the money is spent today. And there are very few technologies that actually are ready for that learning curve piece. And so there's a tendency to overemphasize that piece. But anyway, so your basic research is government. Then you have the venture piece. Then you have the pilot plant piece. And then the sustained piece. For a few things like nuclear energy, the scales are so big that only governments can really come in at several of those key stages. Regulatory and capital, unless the government's involved, it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, it's true. Carbon sequestration, good luck unless no private enterprise can take on the risk, the infinite time risk. And no government has stepped up to that. Canada's come the closest. They're getting close to some regulations that would actually enable this.
Let me ask a question like that, but in a different kind of way. You were the beneficiary.
Brent, I'm going to have to interrupt and warn people. People are going to need to start leaving to catch airplanes.
Pardon me?
So this should be our last question.
Anyway, before I lose my train of thought, it actually follows upon that. You were a beneficiary of Moore's Law. Basically, you chose a business that happened to be on an escalator, that wasn't really, your own ingenuity created its own kind of escalator effect too. But the point was, you were riding a really unusual phenomenon, which was the miraculous improvement in computing capacity. Let's just put it that way. That was nice, and it worked really well for you. And it worked really well for all of us because it worked well for you. But can we expect those things very often? Or, can we hold out hope that those miracles will come now and then? Do we have to invent them? Can they even be counted on?
Yeah, now and then, yes. But we've all been spoiled and deeply confused by the IT model. Chip scaling, exponential improvement, that is rare. Now, we do see it. We see it in hard disk storage, fiber capacity, gene sequencing rates, biological databases, improvement in modeling software. There are some things where exponential improvement is there. If you believe Ray Kurzweil, he he takes it and says, okay, all of technology is subject to that, and therefore, mankind in 2042 will be replaced by robots. That's the positive view, which I think goes too far. Actually, yeah, it's good to laugh at that. That's the exponential rate view. The more realistic view is what you'll see in Václav Smil in terms of writing about energy. And he has Thomas Edison reincarnated, and he says, okay, what would Thomas Edison be surprised about, not surprised about? Light bulbs that screw in, he did that screw-in thing. Lead-acid batteries, very similar to what Edison did. No surprises. So you say, oh no, batteries have improved. They haven't improved hardly at all. And there are deep physical limits. I'm funding 5 battery startups. There's probably 50 out there. That is a very tough problem. And intermittent energy sources force you into that problem. And it may not be solvable in any sort of economic way. There is no one that you look at and say has those pieces together. So we are fooled by this. Supersonic transport. Okay, that was a nice thing of the past. There are things that don't move forward. And energy, nuclear energy, stopped in the 1970s, by and large, that got shut down. And so this latest Smil book, Energy Transitions, really is eye-opening when you see how long and hard it is for change to take place. So we have to have a blended model. The optimism that we get from our IT thing and the realism that the energy sector teaches us through its history.
Okay, one last question.
Andy McAfee, MIT. Bill, as you look ahead, can you tell us where you're most optimistic and most pessimistic?
If I look at the political process and the ability to deal with issues that are complex enough that even the average elite voter has a hard time getting their mind around things. What should we do to improve the tax code? What should we do to control medical cost inflation? What should we do to improve education? What should we do in terms of being friendly and having the right relationship with China? These things are just complicated enough that the main people who understand them are people who are biased about them. And the number of experts in these things who are unbiased is so few. And so how does society, a democracy that's worked so well, make some of the tough trade-offs, say, to avoid climate change, that need to be made? So when I think about that, you can actually get depressed and say, has the long-term thinking of, say, a politician gone up or down? Take the quality of debate about healthcare reform in terms of, my God, we've got to save costs. Let's have a responsible discussion. No, let's not have a responsible discussion. We'll call you a name and you call me a name and this is fun. And you get money from this funny guy and I get money from this funny guy and it's fun. But no one really looked at, okay, what tough things would have to be done to stop. That's a weird case where right now innovation's working against you because it invents more expensive things that you have no mechanism not to pay for, at least in the United States. So the political side, you can get a little discouraged by that. But then you go back and say, what did it look like in 1800? It'd be easy to be discouraged in 1800. You think, oh my God, all this horse manure. My God, and this coal. We are headed, this thing is going down. And you wouldn't have seen what a system of education and rewarding entrepreneurs, and science matched in, Techonomy, one might say, was able to achieve. You would just totally miss it. And the idea that you survey people and they think their kids are going to be worse off than them, fine. That, I believe, is deeply confused. I mean, when do you want to get Parkinson's? Now? 20 years from now. When would you like to be a poor person in Africa? Now or 20 years from now? I mean, when would you like to be a black woman? Now or 100 years ago? Society broadly is advanced. And so we're getting kind of in one of these pessimistic things. Why? Because economics isn't good at measuring innovation. We're not good at incenting it. But thank God there's more college-educated people in the world who are sharing through the internet. A lot of them are in China. A lot are still in the United States. And so basically, I come out with an optimistic view.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Good job.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Indeed.